filter, and things are supposed to move in and out. They're not supposed to get stuck there. And what we have a tendency to do, humans, we hold on to this pain. And what it does is it closes, it shuts down the vessel that's supposed to be flexing and flowing and allowing things to flow in and out as opposed to staying stuck. And the more things that, because I did it myself for years, my heart, when people would say, well, open your heart, I prayed and prayed. How can I open my heart? I was numb for a time, couldn't feel a thing. I've gone from one extreme to the other where I felt like a crazy person, too much going on, too many feelings, to feeling nothing at all. And to finally be able to have my heart open, wide open, you have to feel safe within yourself. It has really nothing to do with others, but that's the focus, is that we're always focusing on other people outside of us when it's really us. So the heart is to be ever flowing. We are supposed to be flowing with the universe. And when we shut our heart, when we protect our hearts, we're closing down those energies.
Does everyone understand that, or did that make sense? It's supposed to be like a strainer if things flow through. Or you said a colander, which I guess I
Like,
kind of cook, but I'm not sure what the difference is.
yeah.
Same thing.
Well, I'm using two different words because some people may not recognize strainer or colander. So I'm
Okay.
trying.
Okay. Good.
It's like a filter. It is a filter for our experiences. Our heart is 5,000 times more magnetic than our brain. And so
Oh,
if we keep attracting people that keep hurting us and keep hurting us, it's because we're holding on to old pain and rather than allowing it to heal.
that is a very important statement. If we keep attracting the same things and type of people that hurt us because we are holding on to the same pain, and in many respects, we're sending it out, we're broadcasting it out with 5,000 times more power, right? More focus, if you will, towards the reality. What are, such a mind blowing concept. What are some of the signs that maybe our heart is attracting things that are coming from that heartbreak, from that heart that has not yet healed?
I'll use myself as an experience.
Okay.
My mother, narcissist, for those of you that know me, my mother is a narcissist. She's still living, but she would put me down and criticize me. So I saw love as that abusive, critical, put downs. What else? Non acceptance, conditional. I had to be perfect to be loved. So I kept attracting men that expected me to be
Mm,
perfect. And when I wasn't perfect, then the love was withdrawn, and I did it multiple times. Four different marriages to three to narcissists. So until we come to a place of self-acceptance and self-love, we're asking someone out there to do what we're refusing to do for ourselves. And this is reminding me, I'm in California, and I out my window I can see my little shed. So rather than renting a storage unit, and there's a purpose to this. I have a storage shed. It cost me $1,500, and when we were putting it together, the gentlemen that were helping me, I'm a former landscaper. I know how to do construction. I said,
right.
we need to get the foundation level. And I was told, oh, it doesn't matter. If our foundation isn't good, if our foundation wasn't loving, then what happens? What the experiences that pile on top
Oh,
of it.
right.
And so my shed, the doors don't close because as you build the shed up on an uneven platform that's not level, that's not solid, then when you get up here, it's kind of falling apart at the top, if you know what I mean, and the doors
Yeah.
won't close because
And
it's uneven.
anything you build on that uneven foundation eventually is going to collapse or go completely out of balance and fall apart. And what's interesting as well, which is maybe a corollary to the heartbreak in higher realms and moving to those higher realms, is how high could you go with that shed before it would fall over, right? Without the foundation, it's not going to go more than
Yeah.
10 feet, maybe 15, and then it's going to, it's going to tump over. So there is this foundational element maybe that's important to letting us springboard into these higher realms and what we're really after. You had some stories, and people that may not know of your work, I know a lot do, but I want to kind of go back to your life. You had your acupuncture come to your home after, I believe,
Mm.
your twin flame passed away.
So
I
I had,
remember you. Tell me
yes,
that story.
I met my twin flame. First spiritual mentor handed me this flyer and said, I think there's something for you here. And it was a drum making workshop. And I replied, I already have a drum. But but I bought it from someone. So no, this was a drum making workshop where you sand the frame
Mm.
and you put the buffalo hot. Well, so this gentleman was putting on she showed me the picture and I look at him. He just was not my type at all. So we go to Hiawassee, Georgia. The story of this whole thing, it's in my first book, actually, chapter 11. It is a magical experience. The whole day was magical. I was
I
told,
love those
take
days.
my diamond earrings off, dress down, don't, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've never been told how to dress for something. And so when I'll cut to the chase, that but we got to the parking lot. This is in Hiawassee, Georgia. It was I think November 1st. I had just bought my pickup truck the day before for my landscape company for Heavenscapes. And I was in my brand new truck, my used brand new truck. And we walked across the parking lot and our eyes met. I couldn't believe the feeling I had for this man that I didn't know. And when we were in the workshop and he asked me what my name was, and I told him Jennifer, he goes, Jennifer, your name's Jennifer? And you're from where? Toronto. You're from Toronto. So he had had this premonition he was going to meet somebody by the name of Jennifer from Toronto. Like it was incredible. Anyway, when we first hugged, my spiritual mentor was standing next to us. Everybody lined up to hug him. He studied the Native American road. He was a pipe carrier, very powerful healer himself, and did feng shui. I was doing feng shui in the garden. There's so many parallels. And when he hugged me, it was like this whirlwind vortex of love that I'd never felt before. So it's so much. My friend Lynette said she could hardly stand up. She had to back up. It nearly knocked her over. It was
Wow,
so
she
powerful.
felt it and she wasn't even getting hugged. I know there's a point to this story
Yeah.
that's coming,
So
but to
three,
go back into
yes.
this, do you think this was like an unconditional love that stretched across time and space, that was from another incarnation with this person?
So I mean, looking back now,
Yes.
and I mean, I heard my guides like, why did this happen to me? He was the first person that ever loved me unconditionally.
Wow. And
And
Jennifer, I know I'm jumping in, but I want to ask everybody, there's people right now saying I'm getting goosebumps. I can feel this. Can you feel this? Do you think you've ever felt in your life, for all the audience or anyone that hears, just like true unconditional love? Because there's something palpable that we're kind of playing with here that I can feel, like I'm starting to feel that. And it's so different than probably what a lot of us equate to love. So I just want to take a moment and feel into that a little bit. But thank you, Jennifer.
so I'm just going to let everyone know if you're crying,
Mm.
it's this energy is it's very powerful. It's pouring in.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. Like my all of my friends that are on the other side, John included, are all here. They showed up. Diana is here. Who
I'm
else is
sweating. I'm starting this. I'm
Joanne?
getting like
Joanne
beads
is
of
here. Yeah, all these people on the other side are here, and I'm very
wow,
emotional.
really warming
Um,
up.
yeah. So what I will tell you is I had never experienced true unconditional love. And we only had 3 months together, but I read his mind. He would tell me, get out of my head. I knew what he was thinking. I'd never had this experience where we were so divinely connected on all levels, all levels. So he was truly a twin flame. And um, so the long and the short of it, I wasn't divorced. And my daughter and he had a connection as well. And he came in, this is July, the January. It's actually, I think, 18 years this January 22nd. So he came in to visit me. We had not been allowed to see each other because my attorney said you need to stay away from him. It's going to affect your divorce. And it did. Um, so we had 3 days together, and he cooked this dinner for me. There's a lot here. You have to read my book. Um, I was sitting at the dining room table and my legs started to shake uncontrollably. Like I had no control. My legs were shaking. I had no idea what was going on. I'd had that experience once before related to him, but we were apart. And it's kind of intimate, but we made love on my couch after dinner. He played his flute. Actually, the flute playing was before this, but he sat up and said, "I'll never leave you." And he slithered off the couch onto the floor and he was gone. Gone. Yeah. So to have somebody make love to you, you're in this intimate moment, this heart opening moment, and then he was gone just like that. Yeah. And so I had a really hard time because I had a landscape business. If I didn't do estimates, I didn't get paid. If I didn't uh, get paid, I couldn't support my daughter. I couldn't pay my rent, all of these things. And I cried and cried. I couldn't stop crying. And so, but you were asking me about the acupuncturist. So my son David met me at the hospital. I called him. He knew what he had met him. The other thing about John is that he was a geologist, pipe carrier, walked the Native American road, though he was a white man. But he dug up this pipe and he took it to the Anishinaabe chief, and the Anishinaabe chief said, "Oh no, this is for you," because so he spent years on the road with this chief, learning all these things. Very, very spiritual man, and he had a photographic memory. So this type, I've never
That's
met anyone.
amazing.
Yeah. So after he passed, we're so connected. My son took me home from the hospital. And as we drove up, and my son David was a skeptic, and the wind had just come up, and David says, "John's here. I feel him. John's here." He goes, "Mom, I'm going to sleep with you. I'm afraid you're going to try and leave." And my soul kept leaping
Wow.
out of like I
Wow.
kept trying to go. And I knew that I was like this far away from leaving myself. And I had an acupuncturist um, friend, and he came to my house and he put needles in my heart. He told me, he said, if I didn't do that, you would have been gone. Yeah, I would have gone. So that was the deepest heartbreak. But let me just say, all these years later, I guess I am over it. But John had to come and stand behind me and say, "Woman, stop crying." His exact words, "Stop crying." And he actually hurt my feelings. He said, "I would have moved on already and been with another woman by now." And this was like 3 weeks after his passing.
Probably said that to
But
just make you snap out of it.
he did. He did. Yeah.
Tough love.
But yes, but we have to let it go. It's not
Mm,
meant to take us down. It's not meant us, when someone leaves, we are not meant to go with them. We're
To
not meant to.
leave.
It was
Yeah.
no,
Or let a part of us go with them, right? Like they
right.
take that part and then we are just kind of left as a shell. Let me know what y'all think. Amazing story, Jennifer. You have had such an amazing life and so many things you've transmuted and shifted. This is why you're such a great soul healer. A lot of people just saying Jennifer should make a movie from her amazing life stories. Yeah, there's probably one in the works if I know Jennifer or I know what's coming.
Well, I was told that I actually was told that, and you know, I'm living here in this property where my neighbor is a screenwriter, director,
Oh, there you
producer. So who knows, right? Now, I do have another story. So I was married to my daughter's dad. His name was Rich. And it was a very volatile relationship where he put me down every day. He was a narcissist. I didn't know it until way after, but we got to a place of friendship after our divorce. Took a while, but we did. We got to a place of friendship. And he asked me to check in. He'd had an abscess tooth. He said, "Could you check in and see, you know, if it's left the gum line?" He said, "I've been taking these antibiotics." So I close my eyes and I check in. I mean, he trusted me enough to ask, you know.
Yes.
And I checked in and I said, "Yeah, the antibiotic needs to be changed. It's a shotgun approach, and you need a more specific antibiotic."
Yes.
So and then he goes, "Well, but it's left the gum line, it's okay." And I said, "No, wait, it's moved, it's moved to your heart, and I'm concerned, you know, that the infection has traveled." And then I said, "And there's a possibility that you could leave the planet in the next few months." This was I think March or
Yes.
May. It was an M month. And needless to say, he was working in North Dakota in the oil fields. And I told him, I said, "I'm really concerned about you going there. I feel like you're going to die there." And he indeed did, July the 4th,
Oh
2012.
gosh.
And
Okay.
I got the phone call. I was on my way to my mother's 100th birthday. And I remember exactly where I was. The
Mm.
phone call came in. I'd just gotten out of a taxi in Chicago on my way with a friend. I met her. She has a lovely Mexican restaurant in Chicago. And I got this phone call, and it was from his boss. And he told me he'd passed. And I said, "Can you describe to me, please, how did you find him?" Because he found him. And he said, "Well, he had his arms crossed across his chest and he had a smile on his face." And I said, "Oh, he was meditating." I knew because that's how he meditated.
Assignment.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but I will say I fell to the ground because to predict somebody's death like
Yes.
that, you know, was
Yes.
and I grieved the loss because, you know, you once you love somebody, it doesn't matter if you're divorced or not, and there's still love there. I mean, you may deny it, but it's still there. Once we love someone, the
Yes.
love never dies. Love never dies.
That is such a key point. And I want to hear what people think about some of Jennifer's amazing stories, experiences, but also this fact that once we love someone, the love never dies. And with that, Jennifer, first of all, incredible stories. I mean, I did not know all these things had happened in your life. And I know there's more that we're going to learn. It just really begs the question of how do you overcome this? You mentioned that there are physical symptoms that show up as signs of heartbreak. What are they, first of all? So, I mean, could we be going through heartbreak from something in the past and not even realize that we're still carrying that heartbreak forward now? And what does that look like in
Yes.
the body? What does it look like?
So I have two stories to tell you, and I'll keep them really short. But one was so when Rich died, within 45 days of his passing, my best friend Diana left the
Okay.
planet. She was,
Oh,
gosh, not
wow.
even 50. And then my friend Joanne died. So all three of them died within 45 days of one another. Well, Diana has a mother named Bonnie, and Bonnie had uh, two daughters, and she was very, very close to Donna, and didn't seem to give Diana as much credit as she You know what I'm saying? So when Diana passed, Bonnie, I think, felt terribly guilty that she didn't spend enough time with Diana. You know how, so the worst thing is to lose someone, but even greater than that is to have regret that you didn't do all you could do to love them, to accept them. So
Yes.
losing somebody is one thing, but then to have regret on top of that, and a lot of us do. I wish I'd seen my mother one more time. I wish I'd had one more conversation. And you know, the thing of it is that with higher realms, we can. I mean, it is possible to have conversations. Like I said, those beings are all here.
Yes.
Um, so so she was going to her grandson's graduation. This is 2 years after losing her daughter, and she could hardly walk, hardly breathe,
Oh,
and she didn't make it to the graduation. She got rushed to the hospital in Denver, and they told so apparently there's, I'm not a heart doctor or heart surgeon, but there's two things that hold there. We call them heartstrings in the, you know, generically heartstrings.
okay.
There's two things that hold the heart. The heart is actually suspended like the brain is. It floats in the chest cavity, so that it can pump, you know, and be free to move.
Right. It
And
needs
one,
to move and expand without anything touching it. That makes sense. I think we can all
right,
imagine visualizing that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So hers was dangling by one side,
Mm.
so it couldn't pump.
Oh
The
my God.
one of the ligaments or whatever it is, whether it's a valve or something, had just like let go, and she nearly died. So she had open heart surgery, saved her life. But had she gone on to the on the plane, she probably wouldn't have made it. So now I have another friend here in California, Denise, who has been dating this uh, we'll just call him extremely masculine man who's very manipulative. I'll just call him that.
Toxic, basically.
Very.
The toxic
And
masculine. Yeah.
and very hurtful. I mean, not a day went by that he didn't cut her down in some way. And even the day her brother died, made it all about himself. So 6 years later, my friend Denise and my guides have said to me, I cannot save her. She won't listen to me. She doesn't
Mm.
want to listen to me. Keeps putting herself in places where she's going to run into him, and it breaks her heart more and more and more. She's had heart scans, CT scans done. Her mitral valve is leaking. Now, she did not have heart issues before this abusive relationship.
Um,
But because she stayed and stayed her heart was broken and broken and broken and
yes.
broken.
Wow. And there is something known as cardiomyopathy. They call it Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, which
Takotsubo.
is, yeah, which is actually broken heart syndrome. And this is from Harvard Health. So there is this really interesting emotional, physical connection that our bodies have, especially with the heart. How do we begin to notice the signs? What are some signs, Jennifer, that maybe we are going through a heartbreak now for something that maybe we are not getting or not experiencing that we'd like, or maybe that we're carrying something? What does it look like?
Well, when we're stuck in I would call it a stewing and brewing and looping thoughts about something where we
Yeah.
just cannot seem to let it go. Or, you know, we've had a breakup and we keep on wanting to go back with that person that we know is going to harm us, whether it's emotionally or physically. Um, when and I had a recent one actually with all my children, and you know, part of the reason that I made this move to California so swiftly was I said to God, please let me make this move without guilt. And then boom, my kids all ghosted me. And now that is a heartbreak. I will tell you, what happened was I called out my oldest son, and all I said was, this is exactly what I said. Your life would be less stressful if you weren't dating someone out of state, because historically this is what he chooses to do, and there are reasons behind why he does that, but I won't get into that. You can fill in the blanks. And so, because I made that comment, though he was safe to criticize me on a regular basis, and do you know that 1 in 4 families today is severed? 1 in 4 families. The- People are not talking to their mothers, they're not talking to their fathers, they're not talking to their children. And this in itself is a heartbreak.
Oh yeah.
And so you have to process. So I
Okay.
processed the grief. You have to process it. You've got to cry and
Right.
let go.
How do we let go?
Yes,
I know that's a big question coming up. You say there's things that people do and not realize that actually could cause physical damage after heartbreak. Now, again, we're not doctors, we're not giving medical advice, but from the spiritual side, you're shown there's certain things that if we don't do or we do in a certain way could create a damage to our heart. What would that be? If we,
a lot of people are afraid of their emotions. When you're afraid to feel, when you can't allow yourself to lay down on the floor and just wail like you know you need to, when you can't release the tears, some people can't cry. And I was in that place for a long time. When you have numbness, when you stuff so much, this we talked about this earlier. The heart wall is built up,
well,
whether it's concrete or steel or whatever this wall is. We have to break through this heart wall, and it's layers upon layers of stuffed emotions, whether it's anger or bitterness or resentment. I will say this, that a lot of people are carrying despair from a conversation, a text message, a broken friendship, from losing their favorite dog. I mean, we can hang on to this despair without letting it go. So this is the thing about the heart. It's, the heart beats. We're all supposed to breathing in, breathing out, breathing into the emotion and breathing